Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. How are you all? All good?
Yes, sir.
Evening, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, where are others?
How are you?
Madhu is there, Akanksha is there, Majid is there, Vaibhav. Who are missing? Yeah, Rulmati is missing, Somnath, Aman. Actually, some told that they will be joining for MDSAP, some of your seniors. Yes, it's already, I only joined very late. Oh. We'll wait for a couple of minutes, okay? However, just to give you a brief follow-up on, already I have texted in WhatsApp, like tomorrow I'll deliver your internal audit certificates. Okay. And actually, I'm planning to include a QR code specific to every certificate. Like once you scan the QR code, your name, uh, the certificate ID, all that will come out. That's why it was delayed. If it gets further delayed, I'll just remove the QR code and I'll give you the certification number only. But it looks good. Like the previous certificate, it is much better now than the previous ones. But if you include QR code, it will be great for you. It looks more authentic where when you share it in LinkedIn or somewhere. Okay.
That will be actually better, sir, because people can verify the certificate very easily.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Once they scan it, they can verify it. Okay, because it will be linked to my company's website. Okay, we have a register for all those guys whom I issue certificates. That we will maintain the certificate register. Okay, but this, for other programs, we have the QR codes like the AML, advanced AML program, which I'm taking up on 10th January, that we have it because it's more advanced and uh, it, uh, it will have more impact on, because I have not seen any organization who has talked on AML in medical devices. That too, you can talk of AIML medical devices that is linked to SOMED or SOINMED, but directly applying them, yeah, of course, in that course there is SOMED and AIML enabled devices. Okay. Of course, I'm also linking that with the quality on how you do 13485, how you link up 13485, and also on the regulatory. Okay, whether it's FDA or UMD or IMD, how we can link it with AML. And again, I'm coming to the same thing. It helps you to fast track your work. Okay, but end of the day, you have to take the decision. Human intelligence has to take the decisions. It's not that you submit as it is. Okay, you need to review and correct it. Anyway, I'm not talking on that. Maybe I'll try to, but any cost tomorrow, I think I can provide you the internal audit certification. And yeah, the other thing is on next 3-4 sessions, we will be talking on MDSAP. Okay. For MDSAP, I won't be going so in depth like what I have done for 13485. Okay. I can comprehensively make you understand this because MDSAP is actually, it's a separate package we'll get it. Okay, it's a separate course like. If you start discussing in depth about MDSAP, it takes almost another 12, 13 sessions, like how we have discussed 13485. But overall, I'll give an overall perspective and overview on MDSAP. I know few of your companies, I know like Intuitive have MDSAP and few other companies have MDSAP. Okay. Uh, I'll tell you what, I mean, how to fast track MDSAP. Maybe 2, 3 years back, it was very difficult to do documentation for MDSAP. But as of now, I know like we can fast track because there is very concrete and clear understanding on documentation of MDSAP. Okay. Like when I have done it, it's somewhere post-COVID. It took almost 3 months for me to understand it and 3 months for me to document. Okay. And of course, another 3 months to go for the audits. Yeah, it's more, I mean, it's more, I said, no, it has more value back than ISO 13485. It's like you have a passport and you'll have entry to multiple countries, like 5 countries, you can have market access. But end of the day, your documentation has to be good. Okay, addressing all 5 countries' requirements in one single file. Okay, like what we call, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like it's a global PMS. As of now, we have officially only 5 countries. Maybe, I mean, I know like in next 1 year, there will be 3 countries. That also you can keep working on. But the point what I'm trying to say is for MDSAP and EUMDR, I mean, converting ISO 13485 into ENISO, that is for EUMDR. Okay. It's like, pretty well, EUMDR is very much integrated with the ISO 13485. I'm talking of the second subject. One is MDSAP, second is ENISO. Okay, in ENISO is specifically for the Europe. It's a PMS for Europe. And as I said, like some of the annexures, some of the articles in EUMDR, okay, are directly integrated or linked with ISO 13485. So you need to, I mean, for getting your CE certification or for a lot of processes, okay, you need to integrate your all these articles or data annexures that are there in EUMDR to be linked with your QMS. Of course, last night or early morning today, I think last night, I shared a guide on that I will discuss. It's not difficult that you need to prepare some new documentation, I mean, new SOPs or new documents, and some you need to update your old documents. Okay, and there will be some documents not so relevant to 13485, but more relevant to EUMDR. But again, it will talk of the QMS only. Okay, these two parts we'll cover in next session. One is MDSAP and second is transforming that. Of course, I have the total MDSAP package. Generally, uh, when I work with companies, I sell it as a package to them. Total documentation, like how to face the audits, all this stuff. Yeah, I'm coming. I'll give you a participation certificate that you have participated in this, master class sessions on MDSAP. Okay. It is only a participation certificate. I can't say that you are competent in MDSAP. But if you clear the exam, I will say you are a competent MDSAP certified participant. But however, we'll see. I mean, we'll plan it accordingly. But like earlier, I used to give participation certificate even for MDSAP. Like EUMDR also I used to give participation certificate and also risk management. But as I said, no, I will give a very clear-cut idea, okay, on how to prepare this MDSAP documentation. Okay, because I work tirelessly, I mean, alone single-handedly on how to prepare these documentations for MDSAP way back, I mean, post-COVID. So I have a very concrete idea, like I mean, I mean, that time I was working for a company in Ahmedabad. So we haven't never consulted any of the organizations or any of the consultants to do this documentation. We have done this of our own. So when we do of your own, you'll get, I mean, a lot of experience and practice how to develop that. And that is the first company in India, okay, which got MDSAP certification from BSI. So a lot of effort has gone in during that. And it's not like it's totally, I know, like ISO 13485, the QMS is a teamwork. It's not that one individual can do everything. Okay, like, sorry to say, Akanksha, because I heard from you that you do everything from regulatory quality. I appreciate it. Uh, Good to do a lot of things, but you have to work with a team. Okay. You should have a very strong QA team to get MDSAP certification, and everybody should be committed, involved. And it's not so easy like how we get, how we document ISO 13485. And the most important is, I'll discuss on that, on how you face the audits. Okay. Facing MDSAP audits is a bit tricky. Somewhere we'll get caught up. And it will be a rigorous, like, it will be a total grilling of your PMS. They'll roast you, they'll fry you, or that will become like a roasted chicken after the oil. It may become a tandoori. It will be something like 5.5 days. I'll discuss on that. And of course, NC grading, how it goes. But I mean, I can make sure of you because I understand most of you after looking at your internal audit exam papers that you're good. Most of you are good and some of you are very good. Okay. So I think if I can explain you MDSAP in a very comprehensive way, oh, I'm pretty sure like you can catch it and maybe later like you can face the audits. Okay. And second thing is at some point of time, you can able to do documentation by yourself. Okay. If you require, I can share some of the documents, not the total package, some of the templates what you require, even for ENISO. I can share some of the documents directly. So, which if you want, like Masjid wants to focus on, uh, I mean, transforming their 13485 to ENISO. I'll give very detailed categorical, okay, very specific points, like how you need to move to ENISO. Because I mean, it's mandatory that you need to have ENISO if you want to get EUMDR certification or CE certification. ISO is, ISO is a standard. Okay, global standard, that's fine. But you need to, I mean, enhance that ISO 13485 into a much better regulatory compliance. Okay, that suits Europe. That is, I mean, EUMDR. It's basically what I could say is adding more regulatory documentation to already existing ISO 13485. Then you turn that into, once you keep documenting, implementing, and maintaining and practice that, it will become an ISO 13485. Then once you apply for your CE, your certificate will now become Okay, separately you'll have ISO 13485. Then you will have another like EN ISO 13485. Okay, or combinedly you can make it if you are EN ISO 13485, which means that you already satisfied, okay, or already you are compliant with ISO 13485. Either you can have two certificates in your organization or just combine it to make it ENISO. Okay. Similarly, like in MDSAP also, as I said, apart from the 5 countries, there will be one that's the total foundation. Okay, for the QMS, that is ISO 13485, which has to be integrated with the 5 country regulations. So during that time also, though you combine both, all 5 regulations, all 5 countries regulations into ISO 13485. Okay, make it as a single QMS or a global QMS. You can have certification as separately for MDSAP certified organization, and also a separate certificate for as ISO 13485. So you have a lot of choice there. And as we progress, I'll also tell you some of the things where you'll understand it better. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, if you have any doubts, I know like it's MDSAP is like not so difficult, but bit complicated to understand. It bit complicated than ISO 13485 to understand, but I'll make it more uh, more adaptive, like how you can do it in your organization, more in a very practical approach manner we discuss. Okay, not on theoretical basis. Even ISO also we discuss more practical ways, live examples I told like. So you keep asking me questions, okay? As you keep asking me questions, that will not only help you, help others like. So when there are some issues or non-compliance or adherence to the QMS, how we can shape it up, okay? Uh, I'm pretty sure like you can do this. Pretty sure you can do this, but bottom line, I'm saying that you need a strong creative. And yeah, as we discuss, I'll tell you, like it, MDSAP also talks of more regulatory compliance, not only the QMS. Okay, country-specific regulations also has to be interlinked. Like how for ENISO we discussed, like Europe or UMDR. Okay, regulations has to be integrated with ISO. Here also the country specific, we have 5 countries: US, Australia, Canada, Japan, and Brazil. Okay, these 5 countries regulations has to be not, it's not just the regulations, even the QMS system, some of the QMS system has to be integrated in the ISO 13485 and some of the regulations. Okay, in due course, I'll tell you uh, like how you need to do it. Okay, this is on MD SAP. Okay, I'll come back just in a couple of minutes. Okay. See, as I said, like MD SAP, we need to integrate the 5 countries QMS and also some of their regulations. Okay. And I have to tell you very openly, it's like MD SAP also speaks the same language like ISO 13485. I mean, it's not like something very different. Like it won't be like a very hi-fi thing or something very difficult to understand. It's the same language. Of course, it will become much easy for you in the sense we discussed a lot on ISO 13485. Okay, it will become very easy for you. Like say when I started, when MDSAP came in, I mean, just before COVID, I mean, first phase of COVID, I mean, this was introduced, MDSAP was introduced somewhere in 2000. I mean, same time like when UMDR was introduced, MDSAP also came. But because of COVID, it got delayed. Okay, first phase of COVID. And interestingly, I was like how if I was able to understand MDSAP much better than others and go and do documentation for the first time in the country for an organization for a company is like I mean thanks to COVID, like it helped me a lot in not only MDSAP in many other ways to understand a lot of things because we are all under quarantine. I mean not gold. Then I just pull this MDSAP from the internet. Okay, thanks that time Geo was there. Then I started reading and it created me a lot of interest, like how you can combine 5 countries quality management system into one single file. That time I was more focused on ISO 13485. But as I keep reading, it became, but by the time it was totally not out, totally all the guidance documents were not, I mean, not in public domain. So I started reading, and as I kept reading, I mean, I had found a lot of interest, like how you can make a global PMS, and later how you can integrate them. Just, I mean, it made me surprised, like how a single audit can give access to 5, 6 countries. Okay, one single audit, but because I mean, I have faced a lot of audits. There is when you think of audit, I used to get a real I feel so schizophrenic and I'll get headache when I think of audits. Okay. I mean, that time when I was working for the companies. Uh, but later I understood like this is the best way, like once we focus on this, at one shot you can kill 5 birds or not kill, gain access or entry into 5 countries at a time. So only thing is like we need to do documentation and implement them. Okay, then I started, I mean, that time only, but that time I was working for a company in Hyderabad. Then after COVID, I moved to a company in Ahmedabad. Uh, there I started working on the documentation. Okay, and I made a lot of in-depth study on this and made basically first the working documents. Okay, it's not like the final documentation. What are the working documents? How you can align them? Okay, of course, that time I had ample knowledge on Mark 3485. So I studied some of the documents of the 5 countries QMS systems. Okay, but I didn't find such a gap or major differences, except few things where it is also there in 13485. Okay, but these countries emphasized it more. Okay, and their regulatory or I mean their quality or the regulatory systems, as I said, they emphasized it more and they wanted it to be more elaborate than what ISO 13485 is speaking. Okay, and they have, and few countries have some new systems that has to be followed. Some old some old documents already we have with 1348 has to be updated. Okay, and there are few other clause. In MDSA we don't call them clause. Okay, basically they are called as chapters. There are 7 chapters in that. I'll tell you. Uh, in them 5 chapters are mostly similar to, not exactly similar. There is some gap, but looks like superficially they look like the ISO documents only. ISO guidelines or ISO, what ISO speaks. And there are 2 different which are entirely different. Okay. Once I enter into the chapters, in each chapter you'll have a lot of tasks. Okay. Almost like there are 98 tasks. In ISO, we call them as subclause. Okay. Here we call clause as chapters. Okay. And the subclause as tasks. You have a lot of flexibility in MDSAP that you can combine a lot of tasks, okay, and make it into a single SOP or single QSP. When I spoke with a lot of MDSAP auditors, they said like better to have minimum SOPs than having multiple SOPs in hundreds and thousands. That will cause a lot of confusion and a lot of waste of time in documentation. I too also agree. Instead of having, say, a lot of SOPs, you can combine some of the some of the relevant SOPs, not like intra-departmental, but interdepartmental SOPs, you can lot of them merge and make them more compact and concise. Instead of having, say, I know a company, maybe Abdulmati also knows, because we worked for some time in the same company where I was a consultant to that company. She was there in R&D, I think, that time. I had very little interaction with R&D, but I understand the PA system. There are almost like 500 SOPs. And for him, very simple thing, there is an SOP. How to enter a clean room, there is an SOP. How to exit a clean room, there is an SOP. So, I mean, that's where you need to clean up a lot of what we call the scrap and make it more compactful, okay, more legible, and it should look more professional. It's not like kids writing their homework every day. Okay, I'll tell you also that. And as if I forgot, like, uh, uh, so I started working on the working documents, like how to combine them. Just worked on the Excel document, worked with the Excel, like picking all the clause from ISO, their clause, I mean, country specific clause from the 5 countries. and trying to merge them, okay, and try to make it as an QSP, okay. And these QSPs, we need to link them with the SOPs. Okay, as I told you some time back, okay, your quality manual is the top level document which has a lot of things like your scope, objectives, and other things, quality policy. Okay. No, not quality policy, scope and other things. And also, and very comprehensive quality manual is something like a very comprehensive abstract of your QMS or a summary of your QMS. Okay. It talks about your products, devices, classification of devices in different countries, and how, what are the excluded, non-applicable clause. Okay, it talks about all your PMS system, like like the documents, total documentation you have, not in detail, but in a very concise manner. And the second level document after the quality manual and other things, okay, is the QSPs. These are quality system procedures. Okay. These basically in ISO 13485, you directly jump into SOPs. Okay, instead of having another level of documentation, that is QSPs. That are quality system procedures. These are not difficult to write. Okay. Once you write the quality system procedures, QSPs, then each QSP is linked to a lot of other SOPs, standard operating procedures, or standard test procedures, or work instructions, which are level 3 documents. Okay, after level 3 documents, then you have all these forms, reports, other things, okay, or records if you fill them, that are level 4 documents. So MD SAPs use them in this hierarchical manner, like you have a quality manual, quality system procedure, second level, third level is SOPs, STPs, and work instructions. Okay, then the fourth level is the forms, templates, like where you need to fill and the records, other things. So here what we need to build up is importantly the QSP. See, in ISO we already have the quality manual, but you need to update it, modify it as required for the MD SAP. I'll share one quality manual. It could be one company quality manual, but I mean, I have my copyrights for that. It's not confidential. Because I have an MOU with the company. You can look at how the quality manual of ISO looks and how quality manual of MD SAP looks. Okay, it will be mostly similar. Okay, scope broadly changes, and the number and the countries specifications you need to give, countries QMS specifications. Okay, and the classification of your device in all these 5 countries you need to provide. Okay, and you need to then provide what are the QSPs you have, list of your QSPs. Then how these QSPs are linked to the relevant SOPs. Okay, after the SOPs or STPs, how you have, I mean, again cross-connected to different forms or templates or records, you have to do that. So this is the way how the documentation structure of MD SAP looks. The only thing is some of the, of course, from writing new QSPs, most of the SOPs will be similar, but you need to update them. Okay, I'll tell you as we go into each module. Basically, I have mentioned it as a module, but it is basically a chapter. And I'll make it very easy for you to understand. Okay, it is basically called a chapter where in ISO we call it as a clause. Clause and subclause we call. Here the MD SAP audit document where I have shared it, I think 3, 4, 5 days back after your internal audit exam. I shared it on Monday. All the documents, all the QMS standards of all the countries, 5 countries. Okay, I also said shared ISO 13485, ISO 9000. I also shared ISO 9001. Okay, and the quality standards, QMS standards of all the countries from US, like the 21 CFR 820. Okay, Australia has shared the TGA, and for Brazil and Visa, that is called RDC. Okay, for Health Canada, it's S4, but the good thing is Health Canada is it strictly adheres to ISO 13485. There you'll find just 1 or 2 differences between Health Canada QMS, that is S4, and the ISO. The most closely linked most closely linked QMS system to ISO 13485 is of Health Canada. Okay, you can casually roll it out that Health Canada follows ISO 13485 except 3-4 things that are different. But there will be some sections which are entirely different that I'll also discuss with you. Okay. And the one which you feel it very different from maybe 20-30% could be more different from ISO 13485 is 21 CFR 820. I mean, when I am working that time 3-4 years back. But now you know pretty well that they are also, I mean, their quality system regulation 21 CFR 820 is now merging with the quality system regulations or QSM, quality system management, with the ISO 13485. Okay, very fast transition is happening, wherein 21 CFR 820. Of course, they'll have some very specific requirements, but now they are merging. Once they merge with 13485, it will become still easier for us to document MDSAP for 21 CFR 820, that is USFDA. Okay. So with this outline, as I mentioned, like you will have multiple entries with one audit or one passport. You can enter 5-6 countries. Maybe after a year, you'll have 8 countries you can market your devices. Okay. But I'm telling you this, I mean, practically, I'm telling you, for you to get certification for the first time is very easy. Okay, I will tell you the reasons why. Okay, but continuation of the certificate, you need to have a dedicated QARA team, totally dedicated for the MDSAP, because there will be a continuous vigilance. Okay, continuous vigilance, like they keep asking a lot of documents every 3 months. It's not like they may come for the audit or they may come for the re-audits. Okay, but they want compliance. Okay, day in, day out. It should be a very continuous thing that happens. It's not like say in ISO 13485, we do compliance or documentation or audits once in a year or once 2 years, 3 years. Okay, here also you have that re-audit or recertification can happen in 2 years or 3 years. But the regulators, okay, will have continuous vigilance on your QMS system. Why I'm telling is there will be 2 chapters, 2 different chapters which we have not seen in ISO 13485 that are added to MDSAP. Okay, because I said that these are very country specific. Okay, they are more regulatory purview, more in the regulatory stance than on the quality. Okay, I'll discuss on that. So you have 5 countries. They will have a monitoring on how you are doing, how you are complying with that, and they will frequently ask you some documentation. Okay, in case there could be, sometimes there could be a re-audits. Okay, sometimes there could be a re-audits. Okay, but continuation of the certificate, I'm telling you, for you to get certification, for the first time is very easy. Okay, continuation of the certificate, I'm telling you, for you to get certification for the first time is very easy. Okay, but continuation of the certificate, I'm telling you, for you to get certification for the first time is very easy. Okay, So it should be like not the ISO 13485, like one week preparation for ISO for the audit. It should be a continuous compliance. Day in, day out, you have to be compliant with the 134, I mean, MD-SAP. It's not like how ISO we prepare for 1 week, 10 days and pass the exam and get the certification. It's a continuous monitoring. So I'll quickly run through this. Okay, see, most of the language or terminology, it is from 9000 only, ISO 9000. You find the same language, but there will be some terminology which will be more effective, impactful. Okay, in MD-SAP. And I'll tell you today what this MD-SAP is, what are the country-specific regulations, how you can map them in ISO 13485, how the grading looks like. Okay, in the next session, that is on tomorrow session, I'll tell you how to do this documentation. Okay, a very simple practical way of doing the documentation, not theoretically, like how I have done it. Okay, and later after the session, if you have any doubts like confusion on that, I'm ready to share some of the documentation and templates on MDSAP to you. Okay, I'll share some documentation, but there more will be for that particular organization where I work, because your QMS in MDSAP changes a lot. Okay, I mean, couple of the chapters change a lot with the type of organization you are, in the sense how good is your QMS. I mean, very much streamlined, or you're still at the bottom level of your QMS. That is one thing. And the second is it also changes based on your devices. Okay, basically the risk class of your devices. So there will be some restructuring that has to happen. Of course, I mean, this we used to do in regulatory documents, but as I said, MDSAP also talks something on regulation. Okay, it has to be regulator compliant. It's like what we have for ENIS4. Okay, ENIS4 is a regulatory compliant QMS system. You need to be compliant with EUMDR regulation. Okay, no, it's EUMD regulation, because EUMDR stands for regulation. So you need to be, and this is the one I think I told you in my first session or second session. Now there will be an almost merger of lot of regulations and the QMS systems that will be happening. It's not like your quality is different, QA is different, or regulatory is different. Because this I have been shouting since last 1 year, but many people never listen to me. You can't isolate and work quality and regulatory. Okay, there has to be a lot of linkage between the documents that you have between quality and regulatory, and that exactly is happening. Okay, it's no more like two separate things on quality department or regulatory department. Of course, you have your own work that has to be done in regulatory and quality, but it has to be an teamwork, shared teamwork. Okay, and of course, end of the day, you need to get clear of your certifications and quality certifications and regulatory certificates. Okay. See, I mean, this is what makes, I mean, the first 4-5 bullet points made me interesting when I started. Okay, that's in very early stages when MDSAP came in. It eliminates multiple country-specific audits. Earlier, it was like if you want to get market access to US, okay, there used to be one audit. Suppose Brazil, second audit, Australia, Japan, 2-3 audits. Like you need to have 5 audits to have your market entry into these 5 countries. But now what made it very simple is that with one audit, with one documentation, okay, covering all their required compliances or required clause or sections that are there in the QMS, we can make it a total bundle of UMS system that caters to the 5 countries, and just a single audit in 5.5 days, you'll have the market entry. It looks really great instead of facing, see, 5 country audits or 6 country audits, including an ISO audit. Okay, and 24/7 or 30, I mean, whole of the year we'll be sitting on audits only, preparing for the audits. Okay. And this we have also, I told you in the QMS, I mean, like in the ISO, it's not just a checklist base. They won't come and see your SOPs or check like how many SOPs, QSPs you have or manuals you have. They also approach process based, which this we heard like in ISO also we said that it's an interlinkage of processes. Even MDSAP also talks of the interlinkage of the processes. It's not a single process there alone that discuss. And this emphasizes regulatory compliance through QMS effectiveness. Just now I told you need to have regulatory compliance. Okay. Regulatory compliance of all 5 countries. When I say regulatory compliance, don't take it so hard that, okay, we need to follow the TGA guidelines for submission or the US FDA for 510K and PMA. Okay, it's not like that. There will be some specific documents, mainly I'll tell you on as I come down. Okay, mainly on adverse event reporting, advisory notices, device marketing registration, I mean device marketing registration or facility registration. Yeah, it's device marketing authorization, device facility registration. These two, okay, will be included in MDSAP, which we don't see this as clause in ISO 13485. Okay. And there will be a lot of specific emphasis on regulatory compliance. Okay, not like in ISO, we don't see much on regulatory compliance, though the document talk, the standard talks of regulatory compliance, but you need to merge the country specific regulatory compliance like what we do in ENISO. Okay, regulatory compliance of that Europe, that is there in UMDR, we combine with ISO 13485. Okay, there are a list of almost like 15 things in Europe UMDR that has to be combined with the ISO 13485. I'll give you the list. Like I said, some new documents has to be created, some has to be updated, some are were entirely new, specific for UMDR. Okay. This we also have heard in ISO. Any QMS focuses on patient safety risks, but here they give a lot of emphasis on life cycle control. What do you mean by life cycle control? A product life cycle or device life cycle control. What do you mean? I think last time or sometime back we discussed. Okay, it varies with the device risk class. Like say, I think I told example of class 3. Okay, device life cycle doesn't stop, okay, at the hospital or after the product is used or the device is used. Okay, it could be from raw material you manufacture, you market. Okay, it goes to the end user. Okay, the customer and you, I mean, the physicians use the device. For something like more critical, I'm looking at the high risk classification. On class 3, like the implants and the valves and other things, orthopedic. Of late, we are getting a lot of implants. Okay, you need to track even the patient for another 3-4 years. The life cycle of the product doesn't end after implantation. Okay, you need to track it for 3 years for some devices, some for 4 years, some implantables like which degrade fast, some polymers, okay, biodegradable polymers, some for controlling of bleeding. That you can follow for 30 days or 60 days. So it could be for implants, you need to follow even after implantation to the patient, you have to follow the patient. So that is what I'm looking at the life cycle. May not be so severe for class 1 or class 2. Okay, and also life cycle also means as long as you keep your devices in the market, you need to have a continuous rigorous follow-up in the form of different routes of vigilance or PMS or PSU. So these all are being now introduced into the whether it ENISO, okay, PMS or PMCA for FSCA, okay, adverse event reporting advisory notices. These have become a part of 13485. Actually, these are the regulations. In how many days you need to report? What are the databases where you need to report? Okay, suppose if Europe is there, you have Udemy. Okay, US is there, you have Mode. Suppose for Brazil, where to report? For Japan, where to report? Australia, where? Health Canada, where? So we need to understand what are the databases available. If there is an adverse event or a recall or advisory notices that, so that will be there in how many days we need to do it. Okay, every country has some specific timelines that we need to understand. Okay, that talks about the device life cycle, control on device life cycle. As I mentioned, it is more integrated or linked to the risk of the device. Of course, end of the day, everybody talks, even ISO talks of the patient safety, safety and yeah, performance or efficacy. Okay, these are participating regulator. Each regulator, I will tell you like how I mapped it. Okay, these are some of those which I have borrowed from or copied from MDSAP documents only. MDSAP audits how your organization behaves. Okay, not how well you write the procedures. They do not mind much about your procedures, SOPs. Of course, they'll have a look on it. But overall organization, like it's a sum total of your all systems, how they are working. Okay, I'll mention you what are their what they will be talking more. Okay, and they take it as a sum total, not as an individual case basis. Okay, individual department or individual sections or individually divide them as okay, the documentation is good, the device is good, okay, the PMS is good. They won't take in such a structured manner, but they take it in a very combined, wholesome, and come to the conclusion. Not worrying too much on procedures, but more on the organization behavior, like how good you are, how vigilant you are on your QMS. Okay, this all we have seen in ISO also. MDSAP also says the thing, process approach. Okay, interlink process, scope by the process. Okay, that's what we discussed, like process approach on interlinking the processes to the SIP, to the CA, or there could be some cross linkages. Okay, and this is what linkage between modules means linkage between the chapters. Okay, how you link up, and this you need to detailedly explain in MDSAP. Okay, say in ISO 13485, we said that we talked more on risk and linkage more in a documented way. But here you need to do it more articulately in a practical approach way, how you are linking your chapters, or here as I said, chapters. Maybe for your convenience, I call them class. Because you're conversant, well conversant with ISO 13485. Like how you are linking it and what is the factors that are basically the inputs to your linkage. Suppose I say management is linked to supplier. So what the management is providing as input to the supplier or the purchase, that has to be defined. And I say like, okay, purchase gives outputs to the something like the R&D. So there will be, see, it's all a question of what are the inputs and outputs. In between, there will be one structured process, structured activity that will be happening. What inputs you are getting from the other clause or other processes or other departments, I mean, to make it more simplified. And what are the outputs that are going from your end? Okay, it exactly fits into what I regularly study on AI/ML. Like what are the inputs you are giving, what is the data is coming in, and what is the process I am doing. Okay, with algorithms or which machine learning platforms I am doing it, and what is the output I am providing. Okay, it's a very simple way to understand even AML in these processes. Okay, and it is mandatory, like we study in ISO. Basically, ISO goes from it's ISO is more like a bottom-up approach. They go to the finished product and try to look at the all the processes, okay, till the raw material. That is bottom-up approach. You go to your finished product or even pick up a marketed device already in the market. You can call that device if it is there in the city, or you can get the labeling details or batch details of that. Okay, then you cross check because it's already there in the market. You should have all the details. Okay, like from sterilization, go back to your QC records, all the records. Okay, whatever the product, your production records, okay, your component records, your labeling, your packing, validation, verification, raw material, supplier verification. All that is like coming from the bottom to the top. But there is a chance that they can also go to top to bottom approach. Okay, it could be either way because this is what they talk about traceability. I'll talk more on traceability, what MDSAP wants. Okay, and risk-based sampling. That time, I mean, though it was not, we thought like it should be risk-based approach. So we thought like we discussed like ISO 13485, we do more, okay, link every clause with the risk, okay, and take it as a risk-based approach. But here what MTSAP is telling is like you have to do risk-based sampling when you are doing the audit. This point also I covered. I don't know how many of you remember. What is the first thing which you, which you will audit? Of course, it could be top to bottom or bottom to up approach on traceability. That is fine on traceability. But what are the things which you'll pick up when you audit first? I told you like in the ISO also, I mean, though it is not linked to ISO, but I explained to you like you need to have the past 2-3 years records of all the inputs your QMS system has. We discussed in clause 8. What are the inputs we'll get on internal audits or customer feedbacks, complaints, top or root cause analysis, management reviews, quality objectives, okay, your design transfers or your new product development, whatever happened, okay, total design controls or design and development files. These are all inputs. Then in that inputs, what they will trace like what are the NCs you had the most in your internal audits or external audits. Okay, and to their understanding, they also have look at the device and see what is the highest risk product. Okay, one is on the highest risk product. Second is on your past history of the non-compliances. Okay, and the third is, as I said, it could be on the highest risk device or most commonly, I mean, it could be like bread and butter to your company, the device which is sold most. Okay, of course, you'll have a lot of devices, 10 verticals or 10 devices, not of the same category, could be of different devices, but they'll look at the device which is giving you more market or more margins or profits. Okay, they collect all this data before they come to your audit, and they'll go in a risk-based approach based on any of this. They may pick up the highest risk product or the product which is marketed most or the one where you have more entries. It could be your complaints, you have more entries, or your internal audits or external audits, you find more entries. So the sampling plan, this basically in 13485, we said it is a randomized sampling plan. Nobody will check all this, every sample, nobody will check. It's randomized, they pick up one or two devices and do this audits. But here it is, of course, it could be randomized, but it is factually based on the risk, a risk-based sampling plan for the audits. And coming to this, very, very important, these are what I mentioned as chapters. Okay. This I mean, in the audit, I mean, in the MDSAP document, they provided this is a fixed sequence, but I know they won't do it in a fixed sequence. But I pretty well know, like, they will audit the management first for almost half day. It won't be like a formal meeting which you see in ISO 13485 audits. Okay, it will be a total half day audit. Okay, and totally, I mean, it's like they will get exact idea whether the management is really adhering or interested in the QMS and safety of the patient, or just they are doing some business. Okay, not knowing. They should have knowledge on the QMS processes. They should have knowledge on everything, like even what are the complaints they had. Okay, their regulatory knowledge will be questioned. Okay, their new product knowledge, what is the state of art. Okay, and the important thing is here the management representative won't be entertaining. It is direct management who has to answer, not the management representative. Okay, in ISO we have MR is responsibilities, authorities we discussed. But here the management should have knowledge on the ISO 13485, what are the clause, okay, their commitment, and also have understanding on the management reviews, the risks, okay, the product portfolio they have, the market, the complaints, everything they should be aware, and they should have commitment towards the QMS system. Okay, not just assigning or delegating responsibilities to others. Okay, some management just delegate or give responsibilities to others and just they keep monitoring very superficially. Okay, look at the finances, profits, balance sheets, all that. Okay, but here in MTSAP the case is different. I said like they will audit management. Okay, and that is why the sequence, though the sequence they may not follow, but I'm pretty sure they'll audit the management first. It's not an interaction with management. Please underline this. Okay, whoever is your management, let them know that it is not an interaction of for that table coffee. Okay, coffee and snack. It will be a real understanding on what the management commitment is and their understanding on the company. Basically linked to the risk, patient safety. Okay, not at the business angle. Okay, I'll tell you more on the management because in management you have a lot of sections. In the sense, you have a lot of subclause in the management. Just I'm trying to make you understand what are these main clause which are very different from IS 1348. Not different, but how they structured it was very different. See, second is see, after management. The second is the measurement analysis and improvement. This is very, and I too agree that this will be in the same sequence. Next one they go is in the chapter 2. Okay, this we have it as in ISO. What is the clause we have in ISO? This measurement analysis and improvement.
Clause 8.
Yeah, it is clause 8. There we have it. I mean that came last. Okay, after all the clause on documentation, management, process control. I mean provision. What is that? Provision control and resources, product realization. Then you have clause 8. But here clause 8 comes second. Find any sound, I mean, background noise. I'm sorry, I can't help. Because I said, like I told you sometime back, there is a temple just back of my house, the back wall of my house. There is a temple, so I should not poke my finger there. So this management, okay, we call MAI. Management analysis and improvement comes second year because they will be more concerned after the management they are more concerned about the measurement analysis and improvement. You know, like in measurement analysis improvement, what are the subclause that come in? So we discussed a lot of things. Okay, non-conforming products, handling of non-conforming products, internal audits, customer complaints, handling of customers, customer requirements. I mean, you can go on like the CAPA, internal audits, okay, handling of the non-conforming products outside the facility. Okay, once outside. So this has very important, okay, uh, configuration that fits into MDSAP. Okay, I'll tell you why I think I told you why it came in clause 8, lost in ISO, but now it has come in second chapter. Okay, and the third, fourth, fifth, if you look like, see in which clause you find this 3?
Class 7.
Yeah, clause 7. In clause 7, product realization, you find all these 3. Okay. Product development, in one clause only, you'll find all these 3. Design and development, production and service control and purchasing. Okay, clause 7.3 or clause 7.4, 7.2 and 7.4. Okay, these come under one clause in ISO 13485. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
But yeah, but here what MDSAP has done that is they have separated, I mean, compared to ISO 13485, they have separated this all this as separate chapters. Okay, design and development is such an important thing in MDSAP. Okay, if you have excluded in your scope, that is fine. If it is there in your scope, I know you will be grilled for a day because I face this. Because in Amazon, when we have the MD Summit, I also am the head of R&D, apart from not R&D, in Ahmedabad, they give designations very differently than compared to other. areas. It's more like head of technical and head of QARA. So I have to answer the design and development. They have total 8 hours. They have looked at only just 2 files on design history. Okay, design history files. And exactly, I mean, what I studied in the audit approach, they have done the same thing. Okay, they asked me which is the highest risk product. Okay, and they asked me which is the product which is sold more by the company. And also all like which is the product where you'll have more complaints. Of course, they have the data, but the point is that they want to cross check with you. So what I'm trying to say is if you look at 13485 in product realization, every important thing they have made it separate and made it as separate chapters because they emphasize the thing that MDSAP, okay, as such things and emphasizes that these are very, very important activities. It should not come under one common umbrella or a common clause. They have to be separated. So it is design and development, production and service control. Production and service control exclusively talks about production. Okay. Of course, infrastructure, production, and personnel. Okay, skill, training, all of the personnel. These three things exclusively they look at it and they allocate a day for doing this. Okay, you will have like 3 auditors, 5 days means. Okay, it is like 15 man days. Totally combined 5 into 3, 15 man days. Of course, the audit will be 5 days, 5.5 days, half day for microbiology. 5 days into 3 is 15 man days. It will be an audit, but you can, I know, like you can handle this. Again, I'm repeating in your first audit. First audit, they'll use some leverage concession, but once you get certification and start exporting your products to other countries, they'll have vigilance. Okay, as I mentioned, here in MDSAP, you have a liberty. Yes. No, I can't hear. Please. Yeah. Okay. If you have any question, you can ask me. Akankasha. Okay. When I say MDSAP, it doesn't mean that you need to be compliant when you talk with the notified body for getting certification. It's not mandatory that or it is stressed on you or it is compulsory or mandatory that you should include all these 5 countries. Okay. You can choose 2 countries, 3 countries, 4 or 5. Okay. Even 1 country also for your MDSAP. It's not mandatory that you have to club all 5 countries because they have mentioned MDSAP is all 5 countries. You have the choice to select the countries of your interest where you find more market, big markets. Okay. But I suggest that it's better to go for 5 countries at once. Because I mean, if you want to add one more country, then there will be one more audit. Say the documentation part will be very simple. But once you keep adding one country, say first I'll go for US, or then I want to add Canada, then Australia, then it will be repetitive audits. Okay, spread over a time period. Then every time you need to change the documentation as you keep auditing. As you keep adding one more country every time. Your total QMS structure has to be changed, or the documentation has to be, not the structure. Okay, but I suggest like better go for all 5 countries, whether you have a market there or not. But I know like most companies choose US, Brazil. I mean, in the order of preference.
Sir, I have a question over here.
Yeah.
So, what I have seen is, even though we choose US in the MDs app, they do a separate audit of their own. Why is it so?
No. That is once it is certified. See, there is one thing, it also reflects upon the notified body. Okay. So there are two types of notified bodies which are authorized to give MDSAP certification. Okay. They can directly give MDSAP certification. Okay. There are notified bodies who are authorized only just to do audits. Okay, they do audits, then they submit the reports to the specific countries. Are you able to understand? See,
Yes,
you
sir.
have two types of notified bodies which are authorized to give because they look at the reports. The notified body looks at the reports. Of course, they share with the concerned countries. Okay, where we have chosen, they give the reports to them. Okay, and they get the consent to give certification because they are authorized to give certification. But there are some notified bodies, they are only responsible to do the audits. Okay, just they audit and write down the audit reports and send to the relevant country. Okay, based on the scope of the area or the region which you have chosen. So that time, I mean, these notified bodies are not responsible for giving the MDSAP certification. So the countries again, if they find more NCs or if the countries find that it is enough, they can give the certification. If they find that the NCs are bit complicated or they are critical or major, because I think I told you there will be a lot of escalation of NCs, which we'll discuss later. Okay, once it is escalated, then the country-specific regulators will step in. Okay, because these notified bodies are not authorized to give certification. Suppose, say, like a notified body like BSI is authorized to give certification. So when they give the report to a particular country of the audit report to a particular country, okay, the country will come back to the BSI and ask them that is this fine or okay, or you want to do a re-audit or you will monitor all this. Okay, the BSI will take the responsibility and give the certification. But as I said in the second case, it is not like that. The country auditors will directly interfere. Of course, there are different stages in MDSAP audit, like what we have seen in ISO 13485. Stage 1, stage 2. Okay, there will be stage 3 if required. Stage 1 is like the review of the total documentation. Okay, it can be done online or on-site. They'll review all the documentation. And once you pass the stage 1 documentation, like they think that your documentation is fine, fit enough, good enough, okay, then only they come for stage 2, that is on-site audits. These on-site audits are, I mean, in uh, stage 1 audits also, there will be a lot of questions asked. Okay. But documentation is very critical in MDSAP to pass the stage 1 audit and go to stage 2. Stage 2 is very critical. Like I said, no, it's like 5 days, 5.5 days, 3 auditors. And also, as I just now said, selection of the notified body is also important. So during that time when when my company is applying for, I have done MDSAP documentation for 3 companies, and also done as of my own company, Salvation Global, for 2 companies. Okay, 3 companies where I was an employee worked there. and 2 on my own as a consultant from Salvation Global. So what happens is when you select, initially there were very few notified bodies who were authorized to give. Okay, like the BSI and TUV stood. These were very limited who are authorized to give CE certification. And if I tell you a fact, it's not that I'm criticizing some of the notified bodies. And it's like the same thing what I found in EU MDR also. The auditors are not trained properly on MDSA. They didn't understand what is the difference between, what is the audit approach, okay, for MDSAP. Is it similar to what we do in ISO 13485? Okay, they lack training. The notified body auditors, they didn't have ample understanding on MDSAP structure, audit approach, audit process, the linkage of NCs, escalation or grading of NCs. So that time there were very limited notified bodies. Now I think many of the notified bodies are authorized. Okay, and many companies are going for MDSAP. Why they go for MDSAP? Apart from all these 5 points, like what I said, single audit, entry, all that, you can save a lot of money and time. You'll have the other thing is like one thing which you or the QARA may not like is a continuous vigilance after certification, which is always good to have continuous vigilance, not on and off after every 1 year or 2 years. Okay, you may not like it, but uh, people sitting above as regulators or auditors, they like because it makes you compliant every 24 hours. Okay, and the most important thing is like when you get MDSAP, okay, it adds so much of value to your organization. I don't know like how much value it can add, but once you say your company is branded with MDSAP, then ISO 13485, you will get a global appeal. Okay, any company can have ISO 13485, but once you say your letterhead or somewhere you stamp with MDSAP or branded with MDSAP, obviously it elevates your QMS system to be so good and compact and impactful that you are covering 5 areas, 5 countries, documentation wise or implementation wise. Okay, it speaks volumes about your QARA system, and you'll have a global branding, and it also helps you in having more sales or whatever language you use in business. Okay, increase the value of your device or price of your device. If there is no price cap by DPCA, that drug, even medical device prices are controlled by DPCA, drug, what is the drug price control organization, DPCA. There is no cap on the prices. It will add, there are a lot of positives and negatives. The only negative for people who are working is there will be continuous vigilance. But should not take continuous vigilance as a negative aspect. It helps you in, say, a very streamlined process. The ISO 13485 has a lot of what you call hills and valleys. Like it's like a broken road during a heavy rain. Okay, where am I? Okay, these are some of the departments in C. In purchasing, I said like purchasing has an indirect impact on the risk, but here they take purchasing very seriously. As I said, purchasing has a direct impact on the risk of the device. Production has, all these have direct impact on the risk of the device. Okay, so they have from the production product realization, they have separated all the subclass and made into class, individual class or what we call individual chapters here. Okay, design development control made separate, service control made separate, purchasing made separate. Okay, this first and second we generally see in ISO, but I'll tell you where you find more difference between ISO and MDSAP in all these chapters and their tasks. In tasks, we call them as sections. Okay, and the sixth and seventh are very entirely different, which you don't see in ISO. Okay, this is device marketing authorization and facility registration. Okay, then the adverse event reporting and advisory notices. MDSAP very much has very specific, country specific tasks or objectives in both of these. All 5 countries have entirely different device registration processes or facility registration or device marketing authorization. Okay, how you report your adverse events. Okay, how you report your advisory notice or submit your advisory notices. Okay, all of them will be different. And this you find in ISO also, but just as an spark, it comes and goes. Okay, very minimal, you'll find this in ISO 13485. But in MDSAP, okay, in some of the subclass you find this. I think in subclass 8, sorry, in class 8 and subclass 8.2, you find this uh, mainly reporting to advisory notices, regulatory, it is called as regulatory reporting. But it is just a subclass, they made it. Okay, a total different entire chapter because they MDSAP treats this as a very, very important thing in understanding the adverse events, okay, or the complaint handling system. Okay, your COPPA, how you do the root cause analysis, reoccurrence of the same complaints. We discussed a lot on why this happens, reoccurrence, all of this stuff, and how you report it, and what are the advisory notices for your recalls, recall procedures. Okay, there will be a specific country-based database, country-specific database, different style of reporting system, okay, and different timelines of reporting, okay, which I'll share with you. And device marketing authorization and facility registration are entirely different for 5 countries. Okay, and how you appoint, say, like in Europe, we have European authorized representative. We call UAR, authorized representative in Europe for CE certification under EU-MDR. Okay, of course, we have economic operators. Well, when I come to EU-MDR, I'll discuss all that stuff. Here, device marketing authorization, they have to, each country has different things like in Australia, they call sponsorer. Okay, in some countries they call sponsor, not sponsorer, sponsor. In some countries they call, I mean, called as a MER, marketing authorized representative. Okay, in some countries they call license holders, something like that is there. But what I'm trying to say is like they hold, like major responsibility, those sponsor or representative market agent, they hold more responsibility in that particular country because they have to be the native people of that particular country. Okay, they should have citizenship and native of that particular country, then only it is allowed to give them the ownership. Okay, and they hold more responsibility than the manufacturer regarding the device. Okay, earlier, like manufacturer has to hold more responsibility, everything happens to the device. But now the country specific person sitting there for your company or your organization in any of these 5 countries will hold more responsibility, okay, than the manufacturer. Of course, manufacturer will have responsibility, absolutely will be in communication with that guy. but he will be, I mean, having a lot of responsibilities. Okay, so responsibilities, but the flip of it is like minimal authorities. Authorities lie with the manufacturer, responsibilities lie with that guy. He has responsibilities, but he can't dictate anything because he has no authorities. So the manufacturer has authorities. So there is I mean, a lot of difference in these two things, which ISO 13485 very minimally addresses this. And the other thing which I told you is the product realization subclasses are totally separated, structured very differently. Okay. And they carry a lot of importance and they have a very direct impact on the product. Because these two will not have. And in some audit approach studies, I also studied like there is some controversy with purchasing chapter, the old and the new version of audit approach, where they say ISO was right, like purchasing has indirect impact because it is influenced by other laws or other chapters. So some say it has a direct impact. You need to do a PhD on it. Do a whether purchasing has direct or indirect effect on the risk of equivalence. And I'll write a white paper or article. So these are guys something on management, measurement analysis and improvement, which we have seen in ISO. Okay, as separate clause. Okay, and product realization is cut down or separated, structured subclass are divided, design development, production and service control, purchasing. The good thing is like in all these 5 chapters, okay, we'll hear similar language like what we have heard in ISO, like similar subclause, what they are telling. But it when you look at country specific, okay, there will be some countries where they have a lot of uh, importance or they take it very seriously or they need a detailed description, the detailed approach of some of the points in that particular sections. Like say design and development in design controls, like just for example, I'm telling US, I mean, they want a very detailed structure, very elaborate approach on design controls, where other countries may not ask. Like Europe doesn't ask so much. I mean, Europe is not there in MDSA, but we are more used to Europe and uh, after India, we are more interested in Europe than to US. But I know like of late, the movement is shifting to Asia Pacific, Latam and Asian countries, including Eurasia. Okay, we are moving away from mostly from Europe, but okay with the US. US, we are not going with PMA, but on 510K. The 510K is much faster and quick up to us. And that's the reason why Europe is now. Have you read that article anyway? Late night, I'll provide the summary of the proposed changes. Okay, 1 line or 2 papers, not 1 line, sorry, 1 page or 2 pages. Summary on the proposed changes, which could happen very soon on the UMDR. Okay, but they are not very substantial changes as I looked at it. Mainly changes are on Udemy, bit of relaxation for the class 2A, relaxation on clinical evidence, but they tightened a lot on PMS. Okay, and some relaxation not relaxation, they have devices for non-medical use. They are made more stringent. Even the risk of the devices of non-medical use. I think we studied down. There are a lot of devices which are of non-medical use, still called medical devices. Okay. Like I told you, no lens for aesthetic purpose, changing the color of my eye of people, contact lenses. They are not for medical purpose or for, I mean, rectifying my eyesight. They are colored lenses just for fashion and aesthetic purpose. There are a lot of wearables. Okay, and a lot of things like, I mean, today I'll share, I think I shared in my WhatsApp status. Air purifiers, I mean, I don't understand what the government is doing. Because there is a lot of pollution in Delhi. There people need air purifiers. The air purifiers generally come in medical devices. Okay, just to combat air pollution in Delhi, there was a proposal that came to remove air purifiers from medical devices and make them as non-medical devices. The Delhi court has appealed to the government. Okay, but you have to remove because you need to decrease the GST. What happens if you remove from medical device? The GST will come down. So slashing down the GST, the price of the air purifiers will come down. So everybody in Delhi can buy it. Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, that region, I mean, Gangetic region, this North Gangetic region, they can buy it. Okay, it's a proposal, but air purifiers are basically used in hospitals, industries, clean rooms, where they are part of medical area. Okay, yeah, let's see what happens. But see, that is slashing GST or reducing GST or making them non-medical areas is not the root cause or not a corrective preventive action for air pollution. We have to do other things to control air pollution than slashing GST or reducing GST or making them non-medical devices for controlling air pollution. Okay, it may be a correction, not a copper. But who will buy air pollution? Even middle class, they cost somewhere around 10,000, 15,000. We should reduce the pollution, not encourage buying air purifiers. That is not the right approach. Anyway, I'm not in Delhi, but I have a lot of regard for people in Delhi and friends in Delhi. So where are we? Yeah. So you remember this, and I'll move. I'll move from this and I'll share another slide. Of course, I'll need to continue with this because I'll be talking about each management, each module. Okay, what are the key focus areas they stress apart from what we discussed on ISO 13485? Okay, what is their focus area? How their audit approach will be? What are the common failures? Okay, it will be very interesting when you compare with ISO 13485. Why they have looked in this way? Okay, because it's 5 countries, every country has their own what you call importance. They look at the risk or the patient safety in different angles. Okay, I'll tell you a story about this maybe when we have free time. Okay, then I'll also tell about its non-conformities and how you can do the country-specific mapping. Okay, country-specific mapping with ISO 13485. How you look at these countries? See, as I mentioned, these different countries, how you can align these different countries, same management. Okay, I'll provide more in detail. Same management, how ISO views this, how other countries view this. Okay, And I also tell you how to do the documentation or integration with ISO 13485. But as I said, I'll move bit fast. No. Okay, I'll also give audit question. But this will be interesting, and I want everybody to understand MDSAP as I foresee, like lot of countries, I mean, lot of organization are moving through MDSAP as per my understanding and reports. Okay, instead of just sitting with ISO 13485, they want to have an ISO 13485 combined MDSAP. Because I told with MDSAP, you will get even ISO 13485, so there is no problem. You can have all PMS, and very soon, I think in 26, we'll have 3 more countries adding, like South Korea, Singapore, Switzerland. These 3 countries, including Malaysia or Indonesia, I need to cross it. So let me share to give a detailed structure which I have prepared. I prepared for a company. That said, I'll tell you a very simple way of doing this. I mean, don't look at this as a big elephant. Okay, it's very simple to handle. As like elephants, we can handle this. It looks big. Okay, it's similar to like handling elephants, because handling elephants is much easier. This will be in portrait, like because this is a document, but why I choose this is in the quality manual, you will understand in first 3 pages. Okay, all right. See, one more thing. Though I have mentioned the 5 management like MEI, measurement, analysis and improvement. Then third, I discussed about design and development. Fourth on production and service controls. Fifth on purchasing. Okay. Sixth on the other 2 things on marketing authorization and facility registration. Seventh on uh, adverse events reporting and advisory notification. But here the chapters are basically placed. These are the same things which we have discussed, but the order is like this. Okay, first is the management, that's fine. The second is device marketing authorization and facility registration, chapter 2. Chapter 3 is measurement analysis and improvement. We have seen this in as second point, I mean second chapter there, but basically it comes as third one. Then the fourth one is on adverse event reporting and advisory notices. Okay, this comes as 4. Fifth is design and development. Sixth is production and service control. Seventh is purchasing. The easy way to remember is that these come in ISO as product realization. Okay, clause 7. Last 3 chapters, that is 5, 6, and 7. In ISO, we see them as product realization. Now they have been divided separately, which come under as chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7. Okay. Yeah, this management remains the same because it is the top one which will be audited. Chapter 1 is management. Second is marketing authorization and facility registration. How you need to enter, appoint the representatives, how you can enter into the market. Okay, all these SOPs or QSPs has to be prepared, and how you register your facility. Okay, this, I mean, I forgot to inform. This too comes, of course, they will audit this also, mainly the documentation. Like chapter 2 and chapter 4, they won't stress much on the records and all that stuff. But you have, if you are already marketing in these countries, okay, they will tell you, like, advise you, they'll give more an advice, okay, like what to follow. So chapter 2 and chapter 4, documentation is fine. They won't probe so much, or they won't investigate so much, like where are the records, because you have not yet got the certification. If you get the certification, then only you'll market it. Because you haven't got the certification, just you need to show that this is the structure of, or the QSPs or SOPs or the forms and records for device marketing authorization or facility registration. This is how we will follow. For adverse event, this is how we do. Advisory notice, this is how we will follow. And what are the databases, okay, for each country, and that documentation we need to show. But once you start marketing, okay, the real game will start. Okay, it's not a preview of the movie. The actual movie will start once you get the registration. You will totally enter into the script, okay, as a full-length actor, not a brief appearances. Then you'll have a lot of vigilance, okay, country-specific vigilance on whether you have any adverse events or advisory notices, all this stuff. Okay, even for advisory notices, this I'll share. So second and third, for the first audit for certification, okay, they look only at the documentation, they'll ask you some questions. Oh, that's fine. But chapter 1, 3, okay, 5, 6, 7, yeah, they will do a very in-depth audit. Okay, if you are excluded from chapter 5 on design and development, that is fine, but still they ask on design controls. Okay, like where from you got these designs, how you develop. Basically, they ask on design history file. Design history file, you should show them design controls. How we are controlling inputs, outputs, or doing verification, validation, transfers. And the most important thing is the risk, that is MDSAP emphasizes a lot on risk in design and development. Okay. And design and development risk is, if you have a PM, if you have a complaint and you are linking that to your design, okay, you have a complaint, your root cause analysis showed that there is some faulty design. That will be taken very seriously. Okay, because so you need to be very particular with your design history file. They also check, like, lab notebooks, laboratory notebooks. These MNCs have the habit of maintaining laboratory notebooks. We call them as lab books. Basically, you see that more in R&D, but in other departments also say they will also check, like, why they do more in R&D, design development. We need to record everyday activities. Okay, if it is a failed experiment, failed results, also still you need to document. Okay, sign it off on that day. Your head R&D or chief scientist have to sign it off on that particular day. So there will be a lot of protocols on that. Okay, even production and service control and purchasing. Production and service control, if you have a microbial error, that's the most horrible one to audit. Where they lost the set half day on microbiology. So this is how the chapters are separated. I said chapter 2 and 4, nothing to worry, but you need to do the documentation, and I will show. But other chapters, you need to be very, very careful, mainly this measurement analysis, because they ask a lot on proactive approach. I mean, that's why I was focusing more I mean, MDSAP asks more on predictive analysis. Okay, ask more on prevention. Okay, preventive action than corrective actions. So for preventive action, you need predictive analysis and trend analysis. Okay, trend events or trend analysis or trend FSCS, trend compliance. That they ask more. They ask more, as I said, uh, on the predictive analysis. How you can predict compliance based on your past data. So we predict NCs based on our past data, and that is based on trend analysis only. It's not that we are superhumans to predict. Okay, and this is what I'm coming to. Say quality management, you have so many sections like 11. Like this is what I told you. They'll have each chapter will have subclause. I mean, each chapter will have sections where in ISO we used to call them as subclause. It's a section. This is also looks similar, like say QMS planning implementation. This QMS planning implementation, we have seen this mostly in class 4, but this came in management. Okay, here we give management representative 4.2. It's also there in ISO, but management representative doesn't have any powers. That is he will just only appoint. He will only monitor. It doesn't have any authorities. Okay. You'll have more responsibilities, less authority. No authority. Quality policy and objectives, you need to change this a lot compared to ISO. Structure remains the same, the responsibilities. Extent of sourcing, personal competency training, it comes in management, it also comes in production and provision control also. This is repeated 2 times. Personal competency and training, risk management and review, planning and review. Okay, document and record controls. This comes in class 4 there, but we have come included in management. Management reviews, class 5 there, chapter 1. Distribution of devices with appropriate marketing authorization. Okay, this has very little importance because we have not started it. Only after certification only we will start marketing. Then top management commitment to quality. So all this, we need to write the QSPs. Okay, quality system procedures. The auditors also agree because I interacted a lot because I was first one to do the MDSAP document. I have a lot of doubts. I contacted personally on phone, online, like how to do the documentation. Is it necessary to do QSPs separately for each section? They said like, no, you have the flexibility to combine some of them which are very relevant and make it as a single QSP. Okay. But here when I look in management, there is nothing which I can combine, like everything it looks separate. So we have almost like 11 QSPs here. You can't separate anything. Quality policy of the organized structure, the extent of outsourcing, personal competence and training. These are very separate to each other. You should find something which is common to. So you have 11 sections, we come as 11 QSPs. And this QSPs again will link to the already existing SOPs with few changes in the SOPs. I'll tell you what changes you have to make in SOP. Okay, this is chapter 2, which I said how you market the device, who is responsible, authorized representative, who is sitting there, and how you register the facility. Okay, there are only three, very simple, but document looks lengthy. Okay, device marketing authorization and facility registration, how you will get the market clearance or approval, notification of changes to market area. If there are any changes to the market, what we will do. Okay, this is chapter 2. Only 3. This 3 also has separate QSPs, 3 QSPs. This is very important, like measurement analysis and improvement. I think here you can combine some of them. Okay, procedure for measurement and procedures we have seen in ISO. Source of quality data, this is just one word or one sentence in ISO 13485, where we have seen what is that clause 8.34, where you have this analysis of data, but here they ask what is the source of quality data. Because I told you, like, there will be different inputs or source where you will get the data. Okay, investigation of a non-conformity, investigation of a potential non-conformity. Okay, you find this two different, but mentioned very differently in ISO. These two you can combine, make one case. Here they included correction, corrective action, and prevention action. Correction is also there. Basically, we talk of kappa. Okay, I'll tell you. See, here in measurement, analysis and improvement, they added assessment of design change resulting from, this is what I say. If there is a design change resulting from kappa, you have a kappa and you found, I mean, the kappa is linked to the design change, or the root cause says that there should be design change. What is the assessment you do? And the process change. Okay, you have changed this control of processes and control of products. We have seen in clause 8 clause 8 only, in 8.4, I think. Control of process, I mean, control of non-conforming processes and non-conforming products. Okay. Identification and control of this we have seen in ISO. Action regarding non-conforming product, this also we have seen after delivery. Okay, once it's in marketplace, internal audit is there. But here the internal audit structure, how you audit, approach is very different. Even NC grading is very different. Okay. When I say different, it's not totally different, but it will be 70% similar. But the approach how you do the MDSAP audit, because you are auditing for 5 countries. Okay, you should have sufficient checklist that includes all 5 countries' standards in QMS and also their regulations. And in which chapter or in which chapter you are auditing. When you do the internal audit, in which chapter you are doing the internal audits, or in management or say. Information supplied for management review. So in the management review, this all comes as like this is the input data. Okay, the quality data or input data for the management review, which we have. What are the inputs for management review? Evaluation of information, post-production phase, including complaints. Communication with external parties, we have this in ISO it's there. But it's not on complaints, we have it as on complaint handling. Okay, that same clause 8.2, 8.2.3. Evaluation of country quality problems for advisory notices. This is new. So here you can combine some. Maybe you'll get some 13, 12 to 13 USPs, which I have. Okay, I will share with you. If your company want to go for MBC. Okay, a top management commitment. See, the last clause is always last clause of every chapter talks about the commitment of the management for that particular clause. Okay, here it talks top management commitment to measurement, analysis, improvement, and process. Okay, if you look at design and development, it says last section says, what is the top management commitment for design and development? Okay, if you look at any other chapter, last section talks about the commitment of the top management. So the management is very, 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 very important in MDSAP. I have been repeatedly saying it's not just like a casual discussion or a roadside discussion with management regarding PMS on MD side. Yeah. Chapter 4 is medical device adverse event advisory notices. This is a separate set of chapter which you need to look at all 5 countries. Like basically I said, oh, there are different ways they define the events, adverse events. Okay. Different timelines, different reporting systems, different databases, and different styles of advisory notices. So we need to do all this stuff. Notification of adverse event, notification of advisory notice, chapter 4. Chapter 5 is very, very important. Okay. Here also you have 16 sections, like what you have found in measurement, analysis, and improvement. There are 16. Okay. Very, very descriptive. Like each section, some you find so ridiculous, like why they are asking like, see, completeness, coherence, and unambiguity of design and development input. See, this is very difficult to write a QSP on this. So what we need to do, we need to combine this design and development with this. Okay, design development output and design verification. Risk management is always there. Verification of design verification, design validation to confirm effectiveness of risk control. I think these two we can combine. These skills are involved 5.8, 5.9. Design validation is separate, clinical evaluation is separate, as because clinical evaluation comes as validation. Design development is very, very important in one particular country. Let me get in Brazil. Design review, impact review of design. What is the impact after design change? Okay, design transfer. As I said, last clause will be top management commitment to design and development process. So I think here you'll get somewhere around 10 QSPs that further will be linked to revised SOPs. That will be further linked to revised in the sense it's not a total region, just update. You need to update that as required. I mean, you need to include all country specific things in your SOP. Of course, it will be there in QSP, but still you need to mention the specific SOP and you need to restructure your forms or templates or reports in that way. Okay. Okay, the other is production and service control. This is one of the biggest one. I think there are something like 26, sorry, 29 sections. So this makes the bulk of the MDSAP file. Very difficult to combine a lot of sections in this because it includes everything that is 50% of your MDSAP documentation comes from this only. Okay, like it, as I said, no, it talks total everything about from manufacturing processes, infrastructure, like personal training or manpower. Okay, see, planning of production, this is there in selection of, these are two are there in as well. Control for the implementation, selected production, this is not there. It talks about cleanliness, infrastructure, work environment, identification of process for validation, validation of sterilization process. Okay, monitoring measurement of product non-conformity. I mean, this is in production. Control operation, competence of personnel. Some of them we can combine it. Like I'll show you like how I made the QSPs. Okay, the other one is on purchasing, the last one. Well, there you have only a few, I mean, it comes as a subclass in ISO, like 7.4. But here it is very elaborate. Planning activities regarding, yeah, any first class will have a lot of planning documentation things. Okay, purchase products and outsource process, selection of supplier file to audit, procedure for the control of purchase products. This we can do. We'll have only supplier file, we'll give it for audit. Okay, extent of control supplier to supplier, purchase product, selection of supplier based on risk, records of supplier evaluation, effective controls over suppliers and products, verification adequacy of purchasing information. Okay, document purchasing information and specified purchase requirement, verification of purchase products. This is important. Purchasing control activities and source of quality data. What is the quality data we get from purchasing? In top management commitment. Now, these are the QSPs. Up to here, 11, this is QSP 1.11, this is up to management. This is for device marketing, authorization and facility registration. Yeah, 2.1, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Okay. 3 is a measurement analysis and implement. So there are like 7 QSPs. Actually, there are 16 sections. 16 we have combined, made them only 7 QSPs. These are only 2. It was event and advisory notices. This is design and development. There are 16 sections. We made it into 8 only. 8 QSPs. Yeah, this is the biggest one. Yeah. Production and service controls. There are 29, we made only 17. I think we have much lot of concept to make it more compact and simplified instead of writing a QSP, 1 or 2 page QSP for everything. This is purchasing source development. Almost like you have 53 QSPs in this. This QSPs you need to link them to your, I'll show some example of QSPs later. So we need to link them to the SOPs in the reference section or in the context of when you're talking or writing about the particular because as I mentioned, the QSPs are an inclusive part of the SOPs. They include, if you go say bottom up approach like MDSAP, see when you combine the SOPs and make it more compact, summarize, it will become a QSP. Okay, when you summarize and make compact the QSPs, it will become a quality manual. Okay, other way, if you elaborate quality manual, it will become a QSP. Okay, and still you elaborate QSP further, they will become SOPs. And after SOPs, you will have the level 4. Okay. That's on formats, records, everything. It's not only SOP, work instructions, STPs, all that, level 3. So it's like where to start is better way to start from quality policy. Okay, write the QSPs, link them to SOPs. Okay, you may think like, why can't we go from SOPs and combine them to make a QSP? That is very difficult. Okay, I'll tell you the reasons why it is difficult. Because restructuring the SOPs country specific is very difficult. Okay, you can restructure the quality manual country specific. Okay, is easy. Then moving to QSP, restructuring or writing a QSP. I think most of the companies don't have QSPs except few, but here we need to write something like 53 QSPs. So I'll tell you like how to write the QSP and how to link them with your updated SOPs or work instructions. You need to update your. It's not like a overhaul or overall saying in your QMS. Okay, it's like more you are adding more information into your QMS, country specific quality information, country specific regulatory information, because you need to be regulatory compliant. You need to show regulatory compliance also. So this come as additional. As such, your ISO 13485 stands the same. It is not deterred or it won't change. So we need to understand. Of course, we know all the standards of the QMS available. Okay, and we also know what are the most important. I said is on advisory notices, adverse events, marketing authorization or facility registration. We have the data available. I mean, we have the documents available for specific countries. We need to pick up. It's not question of copy and paste. Where you need to make them more look like streamlined. Well, there should be a proper flow when somebody is reading, not like bits and pieces that you have. Okay, saved it or stitched your garments which are teared or with hands. Okay, you need to be very careful in this documentation. Of course, in next session I'll tell you how to prepare this. Then later I'll tell. Of course, I need to discuss more on the chapters. All the 7 chapters I discussed. What are the important points each country stress on these 7 chapters? That's first thing. Second thing, how they are linked to ISO 13485. Okay, that's the second thing. And the third thing, okay, how you need to map it. Okay, how you need to map it with 13485, because if you already have 13485, how to map it these 7 chapters in your already existing documents. Okay, then how to write the QSP. I'll give you more a working document like how you can arrange your QSP. And I'll tell you how to update your SOPs. Okay. Then, of course, some changes in the records and some of the templates, forms, and other structures. So I want, like, in next 2 sessions, I want most of you to understand this. Okay, and like I don't know, like I don't know about most of the companies, but I know like Intuitive has an MDSAP because I've read well, I'm going through their company website. So other companies where they don't have MDSAP, okay, you can make an initiative for that, and it doesn't cost much. It costing wise will be similar like ISO 13485, could be 20 or 25% more. But I mean, most critical guys, I'm telling you, you need to have a very good quality team, quality or regulatory team, because a lot of things are linked to regulatory. Okay, so you need to have a strong team to build up this documentation and face the audits. I think it will be more 5 to X, like if X is your ISO, it will be 5 times more. Not on documentation, on the audit approach or audit process. Documentation, it could be 2X or 3X, but audit is 5X, like. Even documentation, yeah, documentation will be 3X, 3X, like. Because there are some documentation which you need to prepare, mainly on the design and development, you need to prepare design history files for all your products. You may have a surprise like which product, which device it picks up, you don't. Okay, I'm pretty sure they will audit 2 devices. Okay. And management issue, of course, we need to handle. Management doesn't do anything. If you have some time, you train your management on ISO and other regulatory. If you already know, but the good thing that happened to me was, of course, I was responsible for MDSAP certification in almost 4, 5 organizations. I mean, I should say I'm very lucky to have all the management, okay, all the directors, board of directors who are all technocrats. Either they are doctors or those who have worked in R&D or basically hailed from medical devices or the clinicals, okay, or either from who understands the terminology, understand what the patient safety means. You can not only look at business. So that way it becomes easy for the management for audit approach, I mean, managements for them to pay the audits. Okay, rest of the things, if you have design and development, that has to be totally responsible. And of course, you need to structure your team. Okay, like measurement analysis, improvement, totally QA has to take control. R&D, design and development, purchasing, you can the two clause on advisory notices, marketing registration, the two chapters, the regulatory will take control. Part of the measurement analysis also the regulatory, and some part in design and development, the regulatory will take. Oh, yeah, purchasing QA and the purchasing department has to do it. I'm telling a lot about the responsibilities. Oh, it will be fine. Production and version control, I think everybody has to be there. Okay. Anybody has doubts? Madhu, Vaibhav,
No, sir.
So,
yeah, Madhushree, you have any doubts?
no, sir.
So fine. Then should we close the discussion for today? It's already 9. Have your dinner, take rest. This is a problem when you have sandwich working days between holidays. Today is Friday, Saturday, summer Friday, and Sunday, or 2 holidays sandwich in a working day. I think include a 5-day working day or 6 days.
5 days, sir.
So tomorrow you are free.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, take care, guys. See you tomorrow at 6:30. Then we'll discuss more. Pardon?
Okay, sir. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.